Hello, my name is Gadiel Melendez, and I'm doing my project on MK Ultra. This is a conspiracy theory that is rooted in actual historical evidence, but later claims have gone off the rails and become more unverifiable and lack proper evidence. I reviewed 4 different sources for this: the Supreme Court case hearing on MK Ultra, the National Security Archive, which documented everything about MK Ultra, and 2 scholarly reports, one by Joy Rose and the other by Torbet. Here you go. So, imagine this. What if your government was taking people and secretly giving them drugs? Well, that's exactly what MK Ultra was. As the government was going around and subjecting people to experiments without their consent and sometimes without their knowledge, in the hopes of discovering some different properties of the human body. This was, for multiple reasons, medically unethical, as people would undergo horrific and sometimes life-altering and death-inducing experiments, all without ever consenting to this. Along with that, this led to a lot of people having distrust in their government and other reactions because of this. And this is also a reason why a lot of conspiracies aren't immediately debunked, even if they are crazy, as it has been proven that the government will harm its citizens, given the chance. So people are now more distrusting the government and more believable in conspiracy theories, even if they have no evidence. Now, the confirmed history of what happened. In 1950, Bluebird begins behavior control research on its citizens in hope to somehow develop mind control. And this is exactly during the Cold War, so it was going to be a preventative measure against the communists and the spread of communism. Then around 1953, Alan Dulles actually authorized the exact MK Ultra, as MK Ultra wasn't just one experiment, but 149 sub-experiments. So this is when one of the major groups of experiments called MK Ultra actually began. Then through the 50s and 60s, the CIA is funding drugs, hallucinogenic drugs that were trying to brainwash people and make them fall under control, hypnosis, locking people in isolation to break their mind, and other sensory deprivation work, such as putting them in water to try to remove their sense of touch, sight, hearing, and anything they could have done to try to break the human mind and remold it in a way that they could control. This comes directly, and then right after this, Richard Holmes orders most of the files to be destroyed. Richard Holmes was a person in power at the time, and so fearing this would be exposed, he has a lot of the files destroyed. But in 1997, the Senate hearing exposes what's left of these records. So, like I said, not one experiment, but a hidden program that had tons of different experiments and journeys. And this comes directly from the National Security Archive and the Senate hearing on MK Ultra. And then the program operated through multiple different channels. As I said, 149 sub-projects, but this went through universities, hospitals. It went through front groups such as fake adoption agencies. It went through safe houses, places meant to protect people. They were taken and used for these experiments. Prison/clinics where if someone went missing, no one would have noticed because it's a prison or a clinic, exactly. And hospitals where there's a lot of traffic and doing these experiments using these medical devices wouldn't be as suspicious. And the Senate learned that 86 universities or institutions were involved with the broader experimentation program. And so this is where people started having other speculations outside of the confirmed evidence. Because we have some well-documented evidence, just as the CIA behavior control research, the unwitting subjects were used, and how all the files are destroyed, people outside the CIA were assisting them, and how some of the experiments actually caused serious harm to people. But some later claims, such as they were able to successfully mind control their subjects, there's not really any evidence that that's true. There wasn't anyone that that came forward as they were mind controlled, or any reasonable evidence that they were able to succeed in their research. And another one is every researcher knew CIA funding. I feel like this is pretty obviously not true, as they wouldn't just be telling every single researcher it, but it's a very wild claim to say that every single researcher was aware it was backed by the CIA, and more unfounded claims that just started spiraling off after people discovered what was really documented about it and decided to push some other stuff that would take away from what actually happened and the victims of the real experiments. And why MK Ultra remains persuasive today is it has a lot. Its ethos, the CIA authority, the doctors, the universities, and later Senate records, all proving that there is like a big thing that is happening to people. And there's dates, there's testimonies, there's cell projects, numbers, declassified records, tons and tons of just data and records and papers to prove that this was really a thing. And just the stories of the harm, the actual truth of the experiments and how they tortured these people and did these things to them, obviously tugs at the hearts of many people, because it was horrible and horrific what they did. Who gets pulled into the story? The sources don't really give a reliable demographic for this. So I won't be able to say it was elderly people, it was white people, it was young children, it was Democrats, or it was Catholics. It was mainly just government distrust, Cold War history, and survivors and families, true crime and media, and online audiences that really bought into these MK Ultra conspiracy theories, as because it's so connected to all 5 of these, it's very easy for them to start spiraling off into later and deeper conspiracy theories on MK Ultra. And so my conclusion after researching it is, I believe everything that was said in like the Senate hearings and all the reliably evidenced claims, as I feel like there's no way you can deny it with the amount of evidence that was produced and proven on these experiments. But what I don't believe is, like I was saying, every researcher of the working on it knew the CIA was behind it, or that they actually developed total mind control. As if they did, I feel like a lot of the world's problems wouldn't be here today, as they would probably just have used it a lot more on their enemies. And the fact that the destroyed files, for example, contain some details unknowable. I feel like it was, you could see where their research was leading, and it's not, if you claim like, oh, these files that were destroyed contains the secret of the universe, you're getting out of hand and just pushing the conspiracies further, which I believe take away from the main point and what actually happened. And so my final takeaway is that MK Ultra proves that conspiracy theory can contain a verified historical core, whilst later claims can range into conspiracy theories. So for the find primary documents, check credible scholarships, and match evidence to the exact claim. These are the 3 points I think can make you distinguish a conspiracy theory to something that's actually true. And these are all 3 things that I was able to do with MK Ultra. And so the confirmed record is serious enough to require transparency, ethical oversight, and careful evaluation of the evidence. And I don't believe the conspiracy theories are needed to make this at all more important than it already is. And like I said earlier, these are my sources. Evan Michael, editor of the CIA Behavior Control Experiments, focus of new scholarly collection of the National Security Archive, along with Rode Joy, History of the Human Sciences 2022, Torbay Jordan, History of Psychiatry, and then the United States Senate, their hearing in 1977. That's all I have, and thank you for your time.